Welcome back, everybody, to Be the Trader. Today, I have a return guest, a friend of mine and trader, Carl. Carl Fred, welcome back to the show, my man.
What's up, Alex? Always good. I like this, the evolution of traders. It's been a great journey, positive and negative altogether. I guess it's kind of like trading. It's kind of like life. The ups and downs, and always good to catch on and give some more updates and sharing how that evolution is growing.
Absolutely. And one thing I would say is, for those of you who don't know, Carl's been trading for some time too. He's been in a previous episode where he talks about that, and so definitely check him out on there. But one thing is, we're still trying to grow ourselves and become even, more profitable over time. And just to start it off, myself, one thing that I did this week that was very interesting is I actually went back and looked at all of my trades. And this is because you and I had a conversation and you showed me how you journaled, and I was like, man, I need to start journaling again. And that got me thinking to go look at my old trades on TraderView. And I looked at every loser, every single loser, the biggest losers, actually. Sorry. So I went to all my biggest losers. And what was interesting is I actually just picked up what are my biggest losers. Why did it always happen? And back in the day, I used to track everything on TraderView, like why I entered a trade, what was I thinking during the trade and emotionally. And I can tell you this, man, it helped me a ton because now I know what causes my biggest losses. And it just coincidentally, it was a reoccurring trade, like the same trade, pretty much I always did was create my biggest losses. And so now I'm just eliminating that completely. And it feels really good because it's also a trade that when I see now, I always had that feeling like it looks like a good setup, but you have that feeling in your stomach where you're just like, I don't know, but you take it anyway. Now I know for certain that, nah, ignore this. Because if you ignore this setup, you just eliminate your biggest losses. So that's something that I just picked up recently that I'm really happy about and looking forward to not doing in the future.
I think that it's something that all traders kind of go through, and it's weird because they all kind of get to a point where they feel like, hey, I've been trading long enough that maybe I don't need to journal anymore. And it's probably questions that we even ask ourselves: do pro traders still journal? And do they still go back to their trades? I mean, $1 million traders, the pro traders that we all know, do they still journal? It's probably a question that we all have, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that. Because uh, us, as when I say us, I'm not going to say that we're completely beginner traders, but we're evolving traders is the right word. And when it comes to the questions we have, we tend to feel that there are certain challenges that when we do become pro traders that we won't have, but those challenges keep on coming and they never stop. And I think that the habit of journaling is something that can only be beneficial to all of us, and even with time, even when you become pro traders, at the end of the day, it's still the same challenges. So when you have those challenges, it's a system that will allow you to attack emotional challenges, strategy challenges, psychological challenges, and be able to prepare yourself for the next time they reoccur, whether it be, as you said, an emotional challenge, whether it be a setup that you've been taking, not realizing that they've been the ones that you've lose the most on. Next time you see it, you won't take it. And this could happen whether you're a beginner trader, or intermediate trader, an evolving trader, or a pro trader.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did the exact opposite too. And once I saw my biggest losses, I was like, I wonder where my biggest gains came from. And it was a reoccurring theme
Mm-hmm.
of like the biggest difference between those two, like what they look like, what I'm looking for. And it's just, it was so eye opening that I'm like, holy crap, like my biggest gains come from the ones that look like X. And now I know with even more confidence that when I see this type of setup for me, that I am like just focused on that 100% and everything else I can just ignore. Even if there's other setups that are on my playbook, this one I know through history, and I'm talking about because TraderView I've been uploading for what 3 years, 3 years. So I have tons of trades on there. So I literally looked at all of the big winners, and they both the winners and the losers had the same pattern where it was common, and so that was eye opening too, and it gives me more confidence to push forward when I do see that setup, which is something that you hear people say, like, and when I interview them, you hear traders say on other shows where they get interviewed, they're like, yeah, I looked at my biggest losses and then I figured out what I need to do to eliminate those. And we hear that stuff, but I challenge people to do it. If you actually go back and look at all, especially if you've been journaling or tracking some way, look at all of your losses and I mean all the big ones, the ones that are just like scratch here and there. Maybe do that. You might find something, but I'm just saying, look at your big ones. If you can eliminate those, you might be profitable just off that. I know that's one thing, Carl, I know one of your challenges that you've been happy to share is you're consistently profitable, but you'll have those big losses every so often. And that's something that you're working on right now to grow on. And so like, that's something that a lot of people struggle with, right? And so if we can focus on our biggest losses and see the trend and eliminate that, a lot of people could potentially be profitable, because it's hard to always look for that best setup. They're always like, what is that best setup? But why don't you look for the worst setup and avoid those? Like avoid those.
Alex, I'm going to bring on a subject in this conversation, which I think is something that all traders know exists, but all traders maybe don't put the time and maybe the necessary tools to attack. And it's the emotional/psychological side, which, as you know, my story right now, I just embarked in a psychological seminar. So I'm going to be taking 2 weeks off trading, which, as you know, how difficult that is to take that decision and say, hey, I've never done more than 3 days, I'm not trading if I'm on vacation. And even there, I still end up trading at least 30 minutes an hour. So literally embarking on the 2-week trading off time, literally no charts, no speaking of trading. I mean, this doesn't count for me as an example, but so I think it's something that people should definitely consider more, because we study patterns, we study setups, we study charts, we study historical moves, we study strategies, we study mindset, but we spend money on education. But how many people truly focus on the psychological side of trading and how to deal with subconscious blocking elements that are forcing us to have FOMO, forcing us to have revenge trading, forcing us to do things that we don't want to do. And even though we identify them, I mean, I identify my demons clearly. I could pinpoint them in a second, and I know them, and I fight to work on them. And some days, if I'm maybe more level-headed or more at peace, I manage to tackle them. But many other days, I do not manage to do it. And why is so? It's because at the core, these subconscious programs or elements are there stopping you from actually doing what you want to do. It's the same way if you put your hand over a burning stove, you're going to pull it immediately because your subconscious knows that it's hot even before it actually burning you. So I think that many people should truly evaluate. And I know you do a lot of meditating, so you're a big advocate for that. I mean, I don't meditate, so I've had to. I'm embarking into this new psychological seminar, which we will have more one-on-ones like this, so we can explain to the public and the ones interested the evolution of that kind of therapy, to be able to delete these subconscious programs forcing me to take FOMO trades or revenge trading, or not respecting my risk and adding to a loser and turning a small red day or a small green day into a big red day. All of those challenges are things that I think traders should put more emphasis and more time and more power to, because it's not only about setups and about learning how to trade or level 2 or tape reading or strategies. That's part of it and is important. And I think that is a lot easier to learn. But if you find yourself still struggling, even though you know what to do, there is nowhere else to go but to look within and to solve those internal issues.
Yeah, I agree. I think you hit on two things I really love: the subconscious mind, but the stove example, and then the whole idea of we do all this studying of charts and so forth and strategies and try to understand how to win and how to prevent losses so much that, two things I want to mention is I don't know the actual statistics. I don't know the actual study, but I read a lot, and through my reading, I remember reading something where they were saying that most of our learning happens when we're away from learning. Like after we're done studying and you need to take a break and you go sleep is when all the learning comes. So one thing what I will say is I know you know this, and some people maybe who've been following the show understand that I took a break as well, and I just chose to take a break from trading. I was going through a rough patch until I felt like I was clear-headed. And then I came back and I felt really good. Like I didn't come back with any anxiety or anxiousness to where I felt like, oh man, I got to trade today, or oh no, I don't want to lose, or oh man, I want to win. I just came, what is there to trade? And that, taking that break helped me see things more clearly, like helped me see setups. And I'm like really excited for you because I think you taking this break, forcing a break is hard. It's hard because we love to trade. One thing you'll see is when you take these 2 weeks off is that FOMO, you'll have way more control of that FOMO sensation, because the first couple of days when I took a week, I think I took a whole week off. I didn't have a time period. I just like, I'm taking time off until I feel good, until I feel like I don't want to trade, like I don't have to, because I kept feeling like I have to trade. Like I had huge FOMO. I
I
had it
have
really bad. And so,
I have that every day.
yeah. And what's crazy is when I took that time off, the first 2 days were freaking like I was itching, and I didn't even look at charts. I didn't even look at any kind of Twitter. I didn't look at nothing because I didn't want to have any temptation. And the first 2 days were kind of rough. But then after that, I was like, huh, like I feel okay. And then after that it took, I think I was a whole week. I came back and I was okay not trading because I didn't trade for a whole week. And the charts were still there. There were still setups. There were still things available to trade when I came back. And so it shows you that you can, at least for me, it helped me understand what FOMO really was. It was just an anxiety that, oh, maybe there's not another play, but there's always another play. And I think when you take
Always.
that time off and you force it, you'll even see it more clearly, but also you'll come back and all that studying, like don't even study. Like I didn't study at all. I didn't even look at studying or anything. You'll come back with just such clarity because all of that studying over the years, especially for people who study every day, which is really good, but take some time off. You'll give your brain some time to actually let that soak in and just go to your subconscious mind, which goes onto the stove that you mentioned. When you touch a stove and you release before you even know that's burning you, that relates to trading where, there's times where you know for a fact that when you're about to place a trade, like before you even place a trade, you have that uneasy feeling, some kind of feeling that comes over where you're just like, I don't know. But then the other feeling takes over that's like FOMO. Well, what if I'm right? I don't want to miss out. So you take it
Hmm.
anyway. And then you're wrong. And then you're like kind of knew I was going to be wrong. It's because that feeling in your subconscious level, you've been looking at charts so long that you know when it's not right yet. But yet the FOMO takes over and you take trade anyway. So I think the subconscious mind can really teach us a lot, because for me, it's definitely helped me. Like the journaling that you helped me with by showing me how you journal. I'm journaling now every day in more detail than I've ever done in terms of how I feel before I place a trade. And I see through my journey, like I type in, and maybe I'm a little comfortable here, so I'm not taking the trade right now. And then, or maybe I am really comfortable. It's like when I have that little feeling of uncomfortable, I don't take trades anymore. And then when I have feelings where it's just like I'm feel really good, not because I'm going to be right, but because it's just like I feel comfortable. Like when you feel comfortable with a trade, you're more likely to stick with the trade, stick with the plan, be okay with the risk, be okay with the loss, be okay with the gain, be okay with holding till your profit, like because you feel confident. But when you're not confident, you probably shouldn't take the trade. So I think the subconscious is very interesting to pay attention to because it does help you, especially you've been trading for some time, you've been looking at charts for a long time. You start to pick up things that you just not really sure to trust, but you should probably work on looking at that, paying attention to it, and maybe you should start trusting it. But I'm glad you
and
said
and
that.
and to go to support in what you're saying, when you take, why is it that beginner traders tend to have it so much easier than more experienced traders? Because they have less noise, they have less things that they actually learn to do. I mean, some traders learn to take trades and just based off chart. And if someone has like a basic EMA strategy, okay, once this EMA hits and rejects, you can short right here, risking above the EMA, an example. And then that trader seems to take profitable trades every single day. But then as time goes by, he wants to learn how to retape. He wants to focus on volume. He wants to focus on level 2. He wants to start focus on the historical data. And then his basic mind that he was taking trading decisions off of right now, he's actually focusing on 10 different things. And now those 10 different things are only adding extra doubt and extra confusion and blurring the whole trade idea, and then suddenly he can't seem to take trades. He's doubting every move. He's doubting, okay, so the setup is here, but the tape is not doing what it should be doing. So, and then he misses out and he gets FOMO. So and in your interview with Brett at the time, he mentioned, and watching his interview with you and different interviews, and he mentions how important it is, the journaling, and how detailed that his best traders, they aren't just journaling saying, okay, I entered at 530, risking 550, trade went well, I felt good, and it was a profitable trade, I grade myself A. No, they go into detail and they explain what was their mindset behind it. How did they feel? How did they feel that day? Were they level-headed? Were they at peace?
Yeah, and I think the audio got a little choppy there for a second, but I think just to make it clear, you were saying that documenting the emotions before the trade is something that's interesting, and I think I think you're right on, because whenever you document like the emotions before a trade, I document before the open of the market. Like I type in today I feel anxious, and I type it out. Like no, I'm talking about my emotion. Like for like as soon as I come to my market, now I type in. I have a box, right? You know this that says emotion, and then I type in what I'm feeling, and then I'm talking about an hour before the market opened. Today I feel. I'll write this. Like there was one day where I was like, today I feel anxious because I wanna make some money, and then when I write that all out, it kind of like puts it in front of me, and then it makes me more aware, and I don't know, somehow it just makes it better. And then there's days where I type in like today I feel great, I don't really care what happens, I don't see anything, and then it looks like I'm gonna make no trade, so I feel neutral. And it's interesting when you document that, and then at the end of the day, like you were saying, you go back and you look at it, and then you can see how you trade it and then how you felt before, and it's just like you start to see like correlations between those.
It's like a checks and balances.
Yeah, and we always hear traders talking about, or like teachers and stuff saying, if you don't feel too good, maybe you shouldn't trade this day, and there's some truth to that. But I mean, I think if you're aware of it, then maybe you could take certain steps and measures to make sure that you don't trade with that in mind. And I don't know how much I has to say, but that's just something that's been helping me, is just typing how I feel beforehand.
No, makes total sense, and you're the first person that I've heard who does that, and to me, it adds tremendous edge and value, because again, you need to be able to go back and relive and evaluate your emotions and psychological state before entering a trade, and so that allows you to do that precisely. Whereas at the end of the day, if you had a bad day, it's going to be deviated from the truth. What you're going to write is going to be somewhat, deviated from the true reality of how you felt before that bad day. Yeah,
I agree. And, just before we wrap this up, there's something that kind of came to my mind. There's another trader who's not consistently profitable yet, and he's a friend of mine. He's working on it, and he's at a point where he finally found, like, I think I don't want to say not consistency, but he got consistent for about a month, and he's felt good. And then this whole COVID happened, and he had to pick up other jobs to make ends meet while he was trading. And because of that, whenever he did trade, every seldom, like maybe once, or I don't know how often, but it wasn't often as it used to every day. He said that he would come to the market and he just wasn't feeling, like he was like skipping parts of this process. He was just rushing things. He was just trying to make money, but he just kept losing. And he thought that it's because he wasn't looking at the market every day. And I don't know if I'm right, but I just shared with him. I was like, look, man, it could be because you're trying to make up for all the days that you're not trading. And I said, so you're just skipping steps because you just want to make money and make up for 5 days that you haven't traded. And he told me that, he was like, dude, that's 100% what it is. And I was like, dude, it's all up here. Like there's plenty of times to trade. You don't have to force anything. And yes, there's traders who trade every day, all day. But I can tell you, for me personally, I try that. You guys know I have experiments with that. It does not work for me. It does not work for me. So some people it does. But just understand who you are and what you want to be. For me, Carl, I know you're the same. We want to trade because we want freedom. Like I want to trade because I want to trade maybe the first hour, and that's it. Like I'm done, because I want to be able to do what Phil Godeker does, which I interviewed on the show. He's able to take a trade in the morning, And then he's every day, like, every day, like I'm talking to him every so often. But when I do talk to him, he's like, I'm out with my family. I'm out doing this with my family. I'm out doing this. And I'm like, that's what I want, because I don't want to sit here all day and replace a job with another fucking job. Like that's not what I want to do.
Agree. At the end of the day, that's what we're looking for. It's not because that you're trading from your home for 8 hours a day, or that you're sitting in a nice corner office in Manhattan for 8 hours a day that makes it any different. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're doing this because you want that freedom, and that you're able to come in for 1 to 2 hours a day and earn some good money and trade well, as you always say. Focus on your plan, do what you do well, and the rewards will come. And it could so happen that one day you're in the mood to actually spend the 8 hours and sit there, and then that's fine. But again, you want to be able to have that freedom and not have that requirement that you have to spend the 6 to 8 hours every single day. So I totally relate to that, and that's exactly as same as me. I mean, I try to trade, limited hours, and what happens is of course after that limited hours has come, if I'm not where I want to be on that P&L, I tend to want to keep on going, and then what happens then? You end up giving back 20-30% of that P&L, and then finally you stop. And then you build frustration, and that frustration builds psychologically, and then it adds to your week, adds to your month, and then at the end of the month, you end up having a subpar month, even though it's profitable, but not where it could have been if you had just stuck to your process.
Yep, 100%. Well, with that, I want to end this episode. I really appreciate my man Carl joining me today and sharing some of your experience and your knowledge, my man.
Yeah. Thank you, man. It's always good. I mean, I'm in the Caribbean, in Haiti. That's where I live. So I don't want the viewers thinking, hey, look at this guy with a Mercedes hat at the beach living the trader life. I mean, I'm a dealer, so I sell cars. So it's okay to have that. But I'm definitely enjoying the journey, and I'm blessed to have friends that I've met through trading, like you and so many others. And and people tend to think that the trading community is a selfish community, and I mean, I found that it's the most helpful community that I've met. Honestly, everyone is helpful. Everyone is here to help each other, and we're all going through our own journey and our own challenges, and it's amazing. It's truly an amazing experience, and I look forward to the years to come. I'm embracing the challenges as much as the reward. Thanks a lot, man.
Awesome. Thank you.